Hey everyone, this is Kevin with Divinely Design, and I have a new type of video. I'm going to make a cake. Now, this is really about decorating a cake, so I'm going to make a fake cake. What you see here is a cake blank. It's just styrofoam that's in the shape of a cake, and I have been practicing doing some decorating, some piping, and I don't want to actually make a huge cake, although I have been making some cakes. So I just wanted to do some more practicing with decorating using fondant and whatnot. And so I thought I'd do a video. I know you guys tune in here. My biggest portion of my audience is for soap makers, but I have some paper crafters as well who tune in. And I'm sure some of you do other types of craft as well, so maybe you'll be interested in making a cake. So this is my base of my styrofoam. I'm going to make a 3-tier cake. My first step is I'm going to be covering my layers in fondant. So I have a ruler here, and I know I need to roll out my fondant to about 21 inches. I do that just by sort of measuring across, up one side, across the top, and then down the other to get my total amount of inches that I will need. Okay, this layer is going to be black, so I have purchased some black fondant. I hear you can try to color black fondant yourself, but I hear it's really hard, and I am sort of a novice here, so I'm going to try and make this a little bit easy on myself. I also have a little bit of Crisco. You can use corn flour, cornstarch, to help with this as well. I kind of like using this. I feel like it helps condition the fondant a little bit more. So I'm going to take some and actually rub it right on my work surface. This is to help prevent sticking. And I'm going to rub some of my rolling pin. And then we're going to get going. I'm probably going to speed this part up here. Okay, so I've draped my fondant over the cake, or the cake blank, and now I'm going to do is smooth the sides down. I'm going to sort of lift the edge out and push down with my hand. I'm going to spend a little bit of time smoothing this out with my fondant smoother, and I'm going to have to repair this little patch here. I'm just going to roll out a thin piece and apply it here, and then blend in the seam lines for that. So we'll be right back after that. Okay, everyone. So I have rolled out the fondant for 3 layers, right? I kind of showed the black one. I did the same with the middle layer just in white and the top layer in white. And then I took some black fondant and rolled it out into 1-inch strips, and I used some water to adhere it around the top tier here. And right now I just have them separated with some styrofoam discs just to kind of give it a little bit of extra height. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep it this way. My design is still, I will say, evolving at the moment. I'm kind of going for an elegant, modern kind of wedding cake, I suppose, or special occasion cake. So this took me about 3 hours, and I will tell you the largest portion of that was smoothing the fondant once it's on the cake blanks and trying to get a nice edge here. I haven't done a lot of sort of super fancy cakes, and I haven't done a lot of work with fondant, but I've watched a ton of videos, and so what I've been doing is using these fondant smoothers and rubbing them firmly to get a nice smooth surface. So the tops and the sides aren't bad. I will tell you, these are definitely not perfect. And don't get me wrong, I think so far they're looking really good, but they are definitely not perfect. I have some, what's called, I think, elephant skin right here. That's probably hard to see on the camera. I'll try and get a little close up, I suppose. And you can see like a wrinkle or two. I'm still going to have to spend some time trying to smooth them out, but that was what took me the longest. And especially trying to get a nice crisp edge on the fondant here. The move that I have seen done in videos is to take two fondant smoothers, one on the side that is sort of pushing upward, and the one on the top that is pushing toward the other one. So you're making this sort of like pinching movement as you move around the edge. And that works, but it takes a while. Like to do this, which I'm pretty happy with the edge here. I mean, it's not, it's not perfect, but it's definitely pretty crisp as far as fondant goes. Just to do that edge probably took me about 20 minutes. I have seen people use kind of a folded piece of plastic, or two pieces of really thin plastic, and use that to try and make an edge. I had a little trouble with it. I didn't get as great of an edge. What I found helped me the most actually was, once I got it to a certain point that it was pretty close, was actually just taking my fingers and kind of going along the edge and making a nice crisp edge to the cake, and then just coming back with the fondant smoother and smoothing it back out. So I still have a little bit of work to do, I think, on this middle tier. Is looking a little bit rough. But I knew I was adding these stripes to the top, so they're sort of a little bit forgiving. And there's going to be more decoration still. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the fondant so far. And I think that's what I'm going to do tonight. And I'm going to cover this up and sort of put it away to the side, and then I'm going to do some more work over this week, I think. Okay, so next, I think what I will be working on is the middle tier is going to be gold, and I'll be working on that next. All right, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, okay, I'm back. Today I'm going to be working on the middle layer, which I've covered in white fondant. And what I want to do with it is actually cover it in edible gold leaf. Now, I purchased some gold leaf from Amazon, and let me see if I can get a picture here. They are extremely thin sheets of gold. There's one of them. So really, really, really thin. They are 24 karat, so they are edible. And I'd like to get this whole layer just covered in edible gold. And really that's the only thing I'm going to do to this layer, I think, is have it be gold. Now, the finished cake is going to have tiers, and I'm pretty sure I am going to keep this separator in between the base layer and this layer, so there's going to be this gap. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with the edge yet. I may just, eventually try to get it nice and smooth, but we'll see. I'm not entirely sure. Now, I will say I also think I don't have enough gold leaf to cover the entire layer. Now, I don't necessarily need to get this middle section here because you're not really going to see it. But I may not have enough to cover. We'll see. So I'm going to get as far as I can go, I think, and then I may need to order some more and wait till I get that delivered. So to get the gold leaf in place, all I'm going to do, hopefully, I do have some water nearby if I need it, but sort of line this up with the bottom. And then just rub it on gently, gently, gently. And peel it off. And then I have a soft, clean brush, and just to adhere it and get it nice and smooth. There's a little air bubble in there. I'm gonna just use my brush to smooth it out. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna speed this up probably as I do this. So, hopefully you saw that. I sped it up probably, but it went okay. This is the first time I've ever used gold leaf on a cake. I've used some gold leaf on some craft projects before, and it's relatively the same, I would say. The one thing that I am having problems with, and one, you'll notice I didn't have enough to finish the top, so that's okay. I think once I put the other cake on top, it'll be sort of not as noticeable, and we'll see how it goes. I might order another pack just to sort of clean this up, but I will tell you, and it might be hard to see, here are some, cracks in the fondant, and it was really hard to get the gold leaf in there, and it was hard to get a lot of these areas to sort of stick afterwards. You might have noticed me using this brush. I have some water to the side, and I was trying to wet some of these areas and then apply the gold leaf, and that worked a little bit, but I still had some areas where I really couldn't get the gold leaf kind of to stick in there, and so it definitely, this section here, actually, I mean, it looks kind of terrible, actually. The gold leaf, accentuates every little ripple and wrinkle that you had in your fondant or any place that it's uneven. I mean, it's like a beacon now looking at it. But I tried to have one side that was sort of very good, and so I think this side did pretty well. There's some, minor blemishes down around the base, and there's a tiny little spot or two. You probably can't even see that one on the camera, but there's one right there and there's one right there. I think what I'm going to do is get some gold luster dust, and I have some, and put it in some alcohol and do some little touch-ups on those areas where I see the white fondant coming through and they're very small. I think that luster dust, the gold luster dust in the alcohol, will hide those enough so that they won't be recognizable unless you look really closely. This was kind of hard to do. Let's see, how long did it take me? So I started probably around 7:30. Wow, that took me that long. An hour, 2 hours. Close to 2 hours, like an hour and 45 minutes it took me to do this. And this is not a huge, not a huge cake. So this definitely takes some time. You have to have some patience with it. The brush does help to sort of blend in and smooth out the gold leaf. You can't be too rough with it because the brush will actually take it off if you're too rough with it. Like I have a piece down here. I can use the brush actually to get a bunch of that off just by brushing it. So, okay, so I'm probably not going to film I'm going to try and do some little fixes on it. But I'm probably not going to film those. Tomorrow I will work on another portion of the cake. This middle layer, except for the gold, that's all I'm really going to do to it, is just the gold. And we're going to be working on, let's see, tomorrow I think I will work on the bottom layer, doing some fondant in molds. Or I will start work on the sugar flour. So, okay, so after the break should be the next section. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, okay, I'm at my next step of my process and I'm going to decorate my base layer. It's the only thing I've done so far is just coat it in the black fondant. And what I'm going to do is I have some fondant that I've used and put into molds. And then I have used some gold luster dust. Now, when I used the gold luster dust, I tried putting just the dust on, and that looks okay. I tried putting the dust dissolved in some alcohol and painting it on. And if you can see, let's see if I can get a little close up here. So this is sort of just with the painted. And I didn't like the way it looked. I wasn't super satisfied. So what I did was paint them with the gold luster dust dissolved in alcohol, and then once they were dry brushed them with the same luster dust, and that gave me sort of a much shinier gold that I was happy with. So I have a couple of different leaves and some swirls and some flowers. I used a couple of different molds to get those. Some of these are cake molds or gumpaste molds that I got off Amazon. I believe I got these. I also used some of these. These are actually from a paper crafting company or an art company, I should say, called Prima. So if you're a paper crafter, I'm sure you've heard of Prima, but they came out with a series of silicone molds to be used for crafting, and they're totally safe to use for food. So there's 5. They're called Baroque, which I love that style. So they have lots of swirls and sort of cherubs and flourishes and some leaves. They have some larger sort of cornice kind of looking things. There's a clock face, and there's a kind of a woman's face kind of thing. So I used a couple of those as well. And all I'm going to do is I have some piping gel that I'm going to just dilute with a little of water, and I'm going to brush it onto the back of my gold accents and place them on here. I'm not entirely sure of the design I'm going to use. I want to play around with a little bit. That's about it. I don't think I'm going to film this, even if I speed it up, just because all it is me taking a brush, brushing on some piping gel onto the back of one of these elements here, and then sticking it on the thing. And I'm going to be playing with placement and things like that. So I thought I would just do a little intro to it, and then I'll come back. When we come back after the break, I should have this finished. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, so here we go. This took me, let's see, probably 2 hours to do, roughly. And I had already had all the pieces made, so that doesn't include making the pieces. Making the molded pieces, painting them, and dry brushing them with gold luster dust was probably another 2 hours. So about 4 hours in total to get all the decorations on here. I used just a big sort of central piece here for the front with some swirls. I used some piping gel and just brushed it on the back, and then placed them on here. It wasn't really hard. Some of the bigger pieces tended to slide a little bit, so you have to get sort of the amount of gel right correctly on the back so it doesn't slide down, but it still sticks firmly. And a bunch of times I kind of just pressed really firmly against it. I will tell you the biggest challenge I had was actually some of the gold luster dust here would get on my hands and then would get on the black fondant and you could see it. So I had to spend some time sort of cleaning up smudges. I just took a brush and actually the first thing I did was took a damp paper towel and sort of tried to wipe it off. And then if they were persistent, I took a brush and dipped it in clear vodka, and then just sort of rubbed it until I could get them off. I think I got the majority of them off. So I did a big central medallion, and then I just have these sort of leaf and roses motif going around. I thought about doing like a swag in between the roses, but I kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like the starkness of it. I think a swag would make it look a little bit more feminine maybe, and I kind of like the boldness of it. So, and on the back I did another medallion. Now my back isn't looking great. This is the area where I had the rip in the fondant. If I were gonna be doing this professionally, or for for a wedding or something, I probably would have re-rolled that fondant, but I thought I could patch it, and I did patch it some, but you can still see some of the cracks here. So just stuck them on. I alternated the leaves. This is one style over here, and then this is sort of like a stylized kind of Baroque leaf, and then this is a more kind of natural leaf. Just two different molds that I had, and I liked the difference here. I will say I really love this leaf mold. And if you go on Pinterest and you look at wedding cakes, this is a really popular mold. You will see it on bunches of cakes. Anyway, okay, so that's the lower layer, and that's really, I think, all I'm going to do for decoration. Let me pull this back, and maybe I can get kind of a look of where we are so far. Okay, and let's see, I'll try to get the camera here. I'm going to have to push it back here a little bit further. Push it off my counter. Okay. So, there we go. So, I took those, I like the spacers in between. I took those styrofoam pieces and I just covered them with some gold ribbon. So I think all of the layers, or sort of the decorative elements that are on the layers themselves, are finished. I'm going to do some gum paste flowers. I'm not going to do those today though. That'll be kind of my next installment. And I'm not exactly sure how I want them to be. I know I want kind of one big statement, like a really big gum paste flower on top, and then I might do some smaller ones that sort of maybe kind of cascade down the side just a little bit in an asymmetrical fashion. I did order some more gold leaf so I'm waiting for that to arrive so I can clean up some of the, so I can finish the top, and then there's a few more spaces on here. Although you can't really see them right now, but up close you can. There's some pieces I want to finish. So I'm loving the look of it so far. I am not sure what I want to do with the edges down here. Once I put this one on a board, it's on a turntable right now, I think the black layer will be fine without anything. I think the black will come flush to the cake board, and maybe I will color the cake board black, and that will help some. But I'm not sure exactly what to do with the edges here. The gold one, if I could get it all covered in gold, isn't actually that bad, but this one is a little bit uneven, so I'm not entirely sure what I want to do about that yet. But okay, so next installment will be gum paste flowers. All right, stay tuned, everyone. Bye. Okay, everyone, I'm going to do a gum paste flower. I actually made some gum paste flowers yesterday, and I was going to film it, and then I sort of got into it, and I got all my supplies everywhere, and it was a mess, and so I didn't film it. Anyway, so I'm going to film it today. So here's what we need. I have a silicone mat where I'm going to roll everything out. This is a kind of firm foam mat, and that's what we'll use with the ball tool to do some shaping. I have a rolling pin for my gum paste. The gum paste I'm using is satin ice. We have some peony cutters. So my set has 4. It's extra large, medium, and small cutters. And then this is a veiner, which we will use to make some impressions on the gum paste when we roll it out. And then I have just a circle cutter and a 1.5-inch styrofoam ball. And this is a mat, so we can, when we cut out our fondant, we can keep it from going hard. We can put it under that. And you'll notice kind of in the background, I have kind of a foam mat, and that's so we can put some of the things on to get some shape. Now, some people use this thing called a cell board, and when you roll out your fondant, it makes little notches in it so that you can put a piece of wire in. I just got this, and I tried to play with it yesterday a little bit, and I'm just not really good at it, so I'm not going to use this today. But plenty of people do use it to make them. Okay, I have 2 pinks here, kind of a light pink and a dark pink, and I actually like kind of for making a peony, I kind of like keeping 2 colors. So all I'm going to do now is sort of mush this around so I can condition it. I'll do it to both of those so they're soft, and then I'm going to kind of roll them together and roll it out nice and thin, and I'm probably going to speed this up because this will take a little while to get. So as you can see, I have just sort of nice marbling in here. It's pretty thin. And I can kind of easily move it around. I hope I have enough here. Okay, so what I cut out is 4 of the small ones, and then 5 of each of the other sizes. So okay, so I've cut out all my shapes, and I have a little bit of alcohol here. This is vodka in just a little plastic cup. So how I'm going to start is by taking the round one and just wetting it with my vodka and then putting it over the middle, just like that. Okay. All right, so now for the rest of them, all we're going to do, for the small, medium, and large, I'm going to kind of wet them so I can glue them onto my sphere, and I'll be veining them. So we'll do the little ones first, the 4 little ones. And to vein them, I just put them on my veiner sort of in the middle, and then I put the top on, and then I use my hand kind of in a rolling fashion with a fair amount of pressure. And you can see the nice veins. And I'll do all 4 at once, all 4 of one size, or I mean, all of one size, I should say. Sort of assembly line fashion. Okay. Take my little ball. And I just like to make sure I kind of look and see which side I like the best. Now for these little ones, it doesn't really matter because they are, like 90% of them is going to get covered up. But, you know. I take a little vodka on my brush, and I'm going to brush probably about 3/4 of it, leaving just the very top not covered by the vodka. And if you don't want to use vodka, you can use water. Okay, so I'll take the first one, and I want to have the first one kind of line up right in the center of that circle, and then I'm just going to mold the leaf onto the styrofoam ball. Now for the next one, I kind of want to get it in between those petals that I have up already. So you can see how the little frills I kind of put in between, so it looks like they're, you know, they're almost connected. And then I'm just going to shape it with my finger, kind of around, and I'm going to do the same with the other 2. Now you could glue these down flat if you want to. I'm leaving the very top portion open like this is a peony bud that is just about to open. Or not just about to open, it's not fully open. It is open when we have the rest of the leaves on here. But it still has, you know, some opening to do, I should say. Okay, so that's all my little leaves. Put that aside. Now I'm going to take my next size up, and I'm going to vein them as well. So I'm going to take all 5 out. Now, for all the next layers, we're going to take an additional step, and that is to take the ball tool and using the flat side of it, you're going to put it sort of half on the edge of the petal and half on the pad, and you're going to roll it kind of around to thin out the very edge of the petal. And this will give it lots of frill. Now, gum paste does dry out pretty quickly, so you want to work fast. Or leave them underneath your plastic under here so they don't dry out. And if you want to get it more frilly, you can kind of do little short, stuttery kind of steps. Try not to get too far down the leaf, because then you'll ruin all the lovely veining that you just did. And if you get some tears, like little tears in them, I actually think it looks great when you get, not real big ones now, I mean you don't want the leaf sort of falling apart, but when you get little breaks in it, I think that makes the leaf look really, very realistic. So don't be super concerned about that. And already these are kind of starting to firm up. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to wet the bottom probably about 3/4 or 2/3 with a little bit of alcohol. Again, try and figure out which is the side you want facing out. Okay, these leaves are going to go down a little bit lower on the styrofoam ball, and you want to kind of start to open them just a little bit more. And I just kind of, five seems to be plenty for me. I kind of overlap each of the leaves a little bit. Just a little bit more. Okay, now I'm using my fingers to kind of shape and push up how much I want of that leaf to kind of contact the small leaves underneath, because that's what's going to hold it in place. So I'm moving it up just to kind of close this in and get it to the size that I want it. And then again, the bottom, I'm just molding to fit onto my styrofoam ball. And you may need to add a little alcohol if it dries out too quickly. Again, just using my fingers and pushing, making sure I get good contact with those layers underneath. Okay, I'm going to speed up the next bit because the next level, the next size up, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to vein them and then frill the edges. So I put on that layer and opened them up just a little bit more, than the layer before. And now you can sort of do some zhuzhing of the petals. And now this next layer are the outer leaves. And a lot of people put those on wires. A lot of people put all these on wires. But again, I haven't been very successful for wires. So what I do is use my foam pad here now to sort of nestle this into one of the little holes and kind of get my leaves where I want them. Now, if something is particularly, like this one leaf back here is my problem child, it looks like. That's the one I'm going to try and support the most. Now, it looks like I have two on opposite sides that need a little support. So what I will do is get a little piece of tissue and put it in there eventually. Now, this last layer, what I'm going to do is not put them on the ball itself, but all I do is take one of them, just like we did before. And this is the outermost leaf, so you want this one to kind of look the best. And try to make it nice and ruffly. I'll tell you a little tip also, if that I have. So this is a ball too, but it's just a plastic one. It's probably hard to see here, but there's it's molded, so there's a little line right in the middle of it. If you run that over sort of delicate gum paste, you can tear your gum paste. So when you're putting this tool down on the gum paste, you want to make sure you have the flat, one of the flat sides that doesn't have that line on it, and that's the one that you're using. Okay. So what I do for that, then for each, and I kind of do each one of these by themselves, is take my little foam pad here and sort of nestle it in so I get kind of a cup shape. Now, I will let this dry, but I won't let it dry all the way. I might let it sit for an hour or so till it firms up, but it still has a little bit of pliability in it. Now, that could vary for you depending on temperature and humidity and all those things. But once it's sort of firm, especially the edges, because they're the thinnest, they will firm up nice quickly. This middle part will be the kind of the thickest down here, so it tends to have a little bit of give to it. But once it's sort of firm, but still has a little bit of give to it, then I will take it out and then I will mold it to my flower here. And let me show you what the end result is then. So stay tuned. Okay, there we have it. See if I can focus a little bit more on that. It's a little too dark. Okay. So there's my peony, my gum paste peony. This is one I made earlier. And then I took a little bit of gold luster dust, mixed it with some vodka, and just put it on the edges of the peony petals. And I'm actually finished the cake now. So let me pull this back here, get a little bit better view. Oops. Okay, so here's the finished cake. What I did was I just did the one gum paste peony on top, and then I did some gum paste leaves that I covered with gold luster dust that was mixed in vodka. And then I just have some really small pink flowers, some with little pearls in the center, just sort of cascading down the side. The gold layer was so difficult to work with. I kind of finished it, and then as I'm working with it, moving it, working on other pieces of the cake, and then wrapping it up, the gold leaf constantly sort of came off. So the one lesson I learned was do the gold leaf last. I did use some other gold leaf. When I went back to buy it, the one I had bought initially was out of stock, and that was a champagne gold. So the next one I got in was like more of a shiny metallic gold, which I really like, but it was very, very thin. It was much thinner than the first one I got, and it was it just took another learning curve to get used to. But I like the way the gold looks here. The gum paste cutouts on the black here. Let's see if I get... Sorry, I can't get this whole thing in here. And my camera doesn't want to focus. So you can kind of see the whole thing. Anyway, so I did sort of an asymmetrical kind of thing with just some leaves and flowers kind of coming down the one side. And I really just left the one gum paste flower on the top as kind of a focal statement. But I put it on a cake board, and there you can kind of see the whole thing. Now, I actually really like the plainness, like when I'm looking at this without any of the flowers. I really love that too. But I wanted to work with gum paste flowers, so that's why I kind of added some of those in here. And I like the leaves. I like the leaves sort of falling down here. I love peonies. I think the peony came out really great. I'm really happy overall with how this looked. For not being a professional baker, and really this being my first attempt at decorating like a wedding cake that somebody would actually have at their wedding. Like that was sort of my goal. I'm pretty proud of it. I think somebody would love to have this as a wedding cake. Yeah, so that's it. Okay, well, I'm going to try and take some still photos that are a little better than my camera here is doing, but comments, questions, leave them below. I would love if you guys have tips and tricks on, working with gum paste or gold leaf or making wedding cakes in general. I'd love to hear them. I'm just interested in, how the process works. If you guys have any great suggestions for, either YouTube channels that have wedding cakes, although I've certainly looked at a lot of them, or maybe blogs or anything like that. And if you'd like to share this with, the pictures of the video with some wedding type places, like maybe post it on Pinterest or things like that. I would love if you did that, actually, because I'm just sort of obsessed with wedding cakes at the moment. So, okay, that's it. This is probably a super huge long video. Thanks so much for sticking in there. Comments, questions, leave them below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, do all those fancy YouTube things, and thanks so much for tuning in and staying with me during this video. And that's it. Bye, everybody.